Hello and welcome to another Looney Tunes review video. If you are new to the channel, make sure you subscribe to follow my journey to review all 1000 classic Looney Tunes shorts and give this video a like as well. So this is a review for Why Do I Dream Those Dreams, released in 1934. It's the 84th in the series and it's directed by Friz Freleng. Since I recorded this before as an audio commentary, which I've now redone for this review, there's been a beautiful new HD version released. It's not on disc yet, and it appears to have just played on a TV channel, MeTV, so hopefully this will make its way on disc one day. In case you haven't seen this one, it's under copyright, I can't show you the full thing here, but basically this is about Rip Van Winkle, where he leaves his wife, sings a song, goes to the forest, and then he takes a nap. We then see a sequence of dwarves singing the title song, and Rip Van Winkle tries to find these dwarves, but ends up shrinking and he's up against a spider. So it's a very, very weird short. It's definitely all over the place, I can tell you that. But anyway, first up you're going to see a re-edit of the original audio commentary I did before I had to take that down. Then you'll hear some new thoughts from me, and then from my good friend Manny Cruz, the 2D tenor. He's going to discuss the music portion of this short. So grab some popcorn and enjoy. Alright, so this one's basically a Warner Brothers take on Rip Van Winkle, and, well, the story isn't quite like this. I mean, in the actual story, Rip Van Winkle escapes his wife's nagging, which is kind of true. They just take the absolute piss out of it, and they really sped up the wife's voice, and it's just, this is probably the funniest part of the film in my opinion. And right away, this actually kind of feels like a Disney, way a Disney film would open, right up until, of course, we get the whole fight we're going to see right now. Yep, there it is. But the actual story goes, in case you weren't aware, I mean, the original story took place around the American Revolutionary War, where Rip Van Winkle, he escapes his wife's nagging, he drinks this particular ale or drink, whatever it is, falls asleep for an awfully long period of time and misses the American Revolutionary War. He wakes up all those years later, and King George III is no longer the ruler, and it's the President George Washington. I mean, I'm no expert on the story or anything. I mean, that's pretty much the plot that I was looking at, but it's pretty easy to find. I mean, it's a public domain story. So, you know, he escapes his nagging wife, as you can see here, and we just see a lot of time-wasting gags, I should say, where they would feature a song. And how this version differs from the original story is that you've got this now little mini thing here where all these dwarves are just singing and dancing and bobbing away, having a lot of fun. And in fact, you actually see it's a very similar gag that they used in Those Were Wonderful Days, where they'll just spray beer on inside people's mouths. And we're also going to get a caricature of Rudy Valley. Gotta love Rudy Valley. Actually, I haven't seen him in the Looney Tunes short in a while. I mean, there was a lot of him in the harmonizing cartoons, but yeah, this is the first time I've seen him in quite a bit, so there you go. What's weird, instead of drinking a beer and he falls asleep, he ends up drinking one of the drinks that ends up shrinking, but then he wakes up and it was all a dream and he had slept all that time. Look, I didn't go into this cartoon expecting a straight up adaptation of the short story. It would just be ridiculous. But I was more amazed at of how much they actually did get right from the novel. So yeah, this is where it differs. So he sees his little dwarves and he, drinks the drink, and rather than falling asleep, and he just shrinks. And one thing I've noticed about his dog that you'll see here is he's very close to looking like Pluto at that stage. Very close. I mean, it's not quite as refined, of course, but it's very, very similar. So those were the original thoughts. So I've already gone through the whole Rip Van Winkle story, where the short is surprisingly accurate in some bits, and in other parts, not so much. I guess they were doing a Rip Van Winkle story, and they realized, oh no, we're going to promote a song, so they just inserted these dwarves just singing to it, and that's pretty much it. That's how it feels like. But anyway, that information is no doubt lost to time. But the song itself, my good friend Manny Cruz, the Toonie Tenor, is going to go through it in more depth. But the song comes from the massive hit movie Wonder Bar from Warner Brothers that starred Al Jolson, and it had some musical numbers by Bubsy Berkeley. It also was the film that had that unfortunate music number, Going to Heaven on a Mule, which I already discussed in that review. Watch if you dare, I guess, for that one, given how racist that one was. But this just follows a pattern of late where there would be a hit film with a lot of musical numbers, and then there'll be multiple Warner Brothers shorts that would do the individual music numbers from those films as a promotion. Kind of like a precursor to a music video. So let's have a look at this short itself, because like I mentioned before, it's actually a pretty bizarre one, but anyway, it is what it is. So we start off seeing that Rip Van Winkle has issues with his wife, and she apparently has issues with the dog as well. I can understand the husband, who probably came home with those French postcards, which I'll mention the reference to later on. She probably discovered those and then, decided to kick him out, but who knows. But then we see that she's complaining about something to Rip Van Winkle, but it's done in such a weird way that it's all sped up. So, for your convenience, I have slowed down this recording so you can actually hear what she actually says. So yeah, that's what she says, in case you were wondering what she says in this very obscure cartoon. So we then see, she's throwing stuff at him. She even throws a chamber pot, which would be the ultimate insult, I guess. This looks like it's a small town where there was no such thing as indoor plumbing, so yeah, chamber pot would have been seen as the ultimate ew moment of the times, especially if it has stuff in it. And yeah, then we conveniently have a paint bucket right there, then where he crosses out his name, and it's just like, oh well, I'm leaving my wife. I just like how he just leaves just so casually. It's like, oh, well, whatever. I'll just leave and I'll eventually go and just do some fishing, and that's pretty much it. There's no thought of, oh, where am I going to live? What am I going to do? Nah, I'm just happy I left my wife. There you go. He just strolls along like nothing happened. And then we get the added gag of the dog blowing raspberry, which I get. The dog didn't do anything wrong. It's just, I guess maybe it's because it's his dog. So, anyway. We do hear a song called Nothing Worries Me, which again, Manny Cruz will go through, but it does appear to be an original composition. Now, according to Keith Scott Cartoon Voices book, there's a bit of a question mark as to who does the singing here. He thinks it may be a fella by the name of Perv Pullen, which, yeah, it's a pretty interesting name, but I'll say no more on that one. But he sounds kind of like Pinto Colvig, how he sings the song Oh, the World Owes Me a Livin'. So maybe Frizz was inspired by that, I don't know, but it definitely sounds very similar. And he sings in the song about leaving his wife, which would be a no-no under the Hays Code. In fact, this gag and a few in here, including those French postcards I'll mention later, they would be a no-no under the Hays Code, but according to the release date of this short, this came out just a smidge before the Hays Code came into power, so it just slipped under the radar. So pretty much all shorts after this wouldn't feature bits which would be big no-nos, unless someone like Clampett got away with stuff or whatever. And everyone seems to be happy with this guy. I don't know what his role is in this particular town. The kids seem to be happy, and there's even a chook that lays an egg, and the egg hatches and the chick starts dancing too. Alright, sure, why not? But it's clearly just a bit of a time-wasting thing, but it does showcase Frizz's timing at the very least. Now, one of my favourite gags is the fishing sequence where it is just ridiculous. Why on earth is he using a mouse trap in the water to catch a fish? Truly bizarre. There was no real reason for that to happen, but anyway, at least the fish are pretty smart to see what's going on here anyway. So yeah, he falls asleep, and then we see this dwarf village where it's, again, just a musical number to promote the title song. And we even see, as I mentioned in the commentary track, Rudy Valley, who sings with this trademark microphone, manual microphone, which again, I'm sure Manny was going to go through in a moment's time. But one interesting bit, though, is that we're already seeing Frizz reuse animation. So in Beauty and the Beast, you see the dancing penguins, and here we're seeing the dwarves dancing to the same animation, so they simply just traced over it. I guess it's quicker than trying to time the thing yet again. Easily the best bit of that, though, is them actually dancing on their beards. So, yeah, kind of amusing. Now, the French postcards. So, what they are, they were known as French postcards because they were little card-size photos of nude or semi-nude women from France, and it was kind of like an early form of erotica. They couldn't be made legally in the US. In fact, any form of erotica, pornography, whatever, it was very heavily censored and very, very underground until a certain point in the 1960s. Now, I'm not going to go through the history of that here, but basically, everything of that nature was very much underground in the US. So, for this sort of stuff, you would have to go to France and pick up a pack of cards, so to speak. So then we see that after the dwarves wake up, Rip Van Winkle is like, oh, there's dwarves, I'm going to walk over. He then drinks the beer, he shrinks, and then we see the dog is much taller than him. Again, as I mentioned in the track, it reminds me of Pluto. Again, maybe Frizz was inspired by Pluto. He has been on the record saying that he was definitely inspired by Disney. So, could be, I don't know. But then we see that the scale's kind of wrong, so the dog looks a lot more bigger, but then in the next shot, we see the dog seems to be more smaller. I don't know what happened there, but probably just a case of different animators doing different scenes, and there's not much consistency there. Then we see that he gets trapped in a spider web. Spider's about to get him, he wakes up, but then Rip looks at his beard and is like, oh, I've got a beard now. It's just, again, this guy's probably the most chill dude I've ever actually seen in the shorts. He leaves his wife like, oh, alright, I'm leaving you. Okay. Alright, bye. And now it's like, oh, I've got a beard now. Okay. Alright. And then he sees the dog, who is a she, by the way, because she's got a lot of puppies there, and he's like, naughty, naughty, and that's pretty much it. And then the short ends. Very, very strange. But anyway, I've prattled on long enough about the actual short. Here's my good friend Manny Cruz to discuss the music. So, take it away, Manny.
Hi, everyone. This is Manny Cruz, the Toonie Tenor, coming at you with the latest edition of It's Time for Manny's Music Time with music trivia for you today. Bum! Oof. Last night was a little rough. Oh, well. I sang twice today, so I guess I get a little bit of a break. So, yeah, we're talking today about the 1934 Merry Melody cartoon, Why Do I Dream Those Dreams? Directed by Isidore Freeling, better known as good old Frizz Freeling. So once again, we have one of these early Merry Melodies in the Schlesinger unit, and also early in Frizz Freeling's tenure as a director here in the studio. And we're getting very close to the end of having Merry Melodies in black and white. Very soon they will transition permanently to color in 1935 and beyond. So let's talk about the cues for this cartoon, shall we? So there's not much to talk about in terms of cues, but I managed to get some nuggets of information. So what are the cues we hear in this cartoon? So we start off, of course, with I Think You're Ducky, the Merry Melodies theme. And then in the opening titles, you see Why Do I Dream Those Dreams by Harry Warren and Al Dubin. So the title track, like I said, was heard in the opening credits, and it's featured prominently later on in the cartoon when we do a kind of a weird transition into the world of the gnomes after Rip Van Winkle falls asleep.
Away off in a mountain glen, he'll be happy once again if you will dream those dreams. And when the evening sun goes down, these dwarfs will dance and play around. You too can be a happy clown if you will dream those dreams.
The song was recorded by Dick Powell for Brunswick Records, and the cartoon features different lyrics than what Dick Powell does. In the cartoon itself, the Varsity Three sings during the gnome part, and I always find it really strange and funny how one of the gnomes becomes a caricature of Rudy Valley, who was a famous crooner at that time, and he's going to be made fun of in other Warner Brothers cartoons. Another cue that we hear is the song Nothing Worries Me by Norman Spencer. Norman Spencer was the music director at the studio, and he also did the score for this cartoon. He traded off between himself and Bernard Brown. In another commentary, I'd like to get more into detail about Norman Spencer, because he was pretty much, along with Bernard Brown, the big wigs of the music department up until the arrival of Carl Stalling in 1936. So you originally had Frank Marsalis and Abe Lyman during the harmonizing years, and then during the early Schlesinger years was Bernard Brown and Norman Spencer, and then Carl Stalling comes along with his right-hand man, his orchestrator, Milt Franklin, and later successor.
Worries me. No, nothing worries me. If people want to spat and fight, work and slave from morn till night, okay, but I don't think it's right, 'cause nothing worries me. Nothing worries me. No, nothing worries me. I left my wife as you did see. She threw me down and now I'm free, but I'm as happy as can be, 'cause nothing worries me.
So, Nothing Worries Me, according to the cue sheets, is an original piece of music that was written by Norman Spencer. And according to Keith Scott in his wonderful book about voice acting, I highly recommend you get it. He makes a guess. If you get the book, you'll notice that there's a question mark next to it because many of the voices that Keith has in his book, he has done extensive research. Literally, he's been researching this book for as long as I've been alive about who's done the voices in multiple cartoons from multiple studios. But here he makes a guess that the singer of the song Nothing Worries Me is Perv Poland. It looks like Perv. P-U-R-V. P-E-R-V is a completely different word. But let's just say Perv. I can't escape it. It sounds like. Anyway, so here's a little information about the voice actor that Keith, who makes an educated guess, but more than likely he's correct. But if it's not, then he is already working on a revision to the book, and I look forward to buying it when it comes out. So who is the voice actor? Almi Purvis Perv Poland. He was born February 2nd, 1909, and died October 18th, 1992. He was also known by the stage name of Dr. Horatio Q. Birdbath, or simply Dr. Birdbath, was an American voice actor. He was known for mimicking the sounds of animals and birds. And I meant to say that I took that excerpt from the Wikipedia article from him, so I'm quoting from there. And he was known for working on various animation projects and projects in general. He has a distinguished history with Disney. For example, he did the bird sounds in the first full-length feature that Disney did, 1937, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, which I just sent to Anthony for him to watch again because I'm based in the United States and I have Best Buy. I used to work at Best Buy years ago, and they have these really cool steel books. Sadly, my buddy Anthony does not get them in Australia, so I'm kind enough to get them for him and ship it over to the land down under. It's been years since I've seen Snow White, so I bought the Steelbook Blu-ray in 4K, and from photos I've seen, the transfer looks absolutely gorgeous, and also some beautiful music in that feature. I need to see it again. It's been literally years upon years. I think the last time I saw it was on VHS, so seeing it on 4K is going to be quite a jump. Poland also worked on some projects for Disneyland and Disney World. And like I said before, according to the Wikipedia article and his biography, that he was well known for making bird sounds and animal sounds. So let's talk about Home Sweet Home, which actually had a more robust history than I gave it credit for. So this is after the scene when Mrs. Van Winkle just loses it and throws Rip Van Winkle out of the house, and he crosses his name off. And you hear a little snippet in the score of Home Sweet Home. And again, it was a little more than I was anticipating. So I take this information from a website of the Museum of History, New South Wales. Look at that. I had to go to Australia to find this information. There was other websites, but I like the way that this museum wrote this information. So thank you again to all the Australians. They're just awesome people. You hear that, Anthony? Even you. So here I go, and I quote, "It may come as a surprise that the expression home, sweet home originates from a song title. One of the most popular songs in the English-speaking world in the 19th century, Home, exclamation point, Sweet Home, exclamation point, is from the opera Clary or The Maid of Milan, which was first published in 1823. With words by the American John Howard Payne, 1791 to 1852, and music by Englishman Henry Rowley Bishop, 1787 to 1856. This tune was heard drifting from homes and concert stages across Australia, Britain, and the United States over many decades. The song was made particularly famous in Australia by visiting English opera diva Anna Bishop, 1810 to 1884, the composer's estranged wife, who caused a stir when she arrived in Australia in 1856 for a series of concerts in which she featured with her lover, Napoleon's former harpist, Nicholas Charles Boscott, unquote. The part is not part of the article, but a little controversy here. So, yeah, I didn't realize, A, that Home Sweet Home was a lot older than I thought it was, and B, that it has a pretty interesting history behind it. As the article said, the words of the song were adapted from an opera, and then the melody was pretty much, the words existed in a separate realm, you could say, so to speak, and then a different melody, or a melody that did not exist with those particular words, were melded together, and boom, you got Home Sweet Home. It kind of reminds me of our national anthem, the Star Spangled Banner, here in the United States. So Francis Scott Key wrote the lyrics, or wrote the words of the Star Spangled Banner. It was originally a poem when he saw the British bombing Fort Henry in 1814 during the War of 1812. The melody of the Star Spangled Banner already existed at that point. It was originally a song called To Anacreon in Heaven, and the music was composed by John Stafford Smith, and you just take those two elements and combine them together. That's what it kind of reminds me of, a melody that had nothing to do with the original words, and put them together. It's like, hey, peanut butter, meat, chocolate. Wait, these things go great together. I already had a great big dinner, so I don't know what I'm talking about all this food. By the way, before I forget again, if you want to learn a little bit more about Harry Warren, please check out the commentary I did for a great big bunch of you. I go more in depth about it, and I will eventually. I keep saying it. I think I know what commentary I want to do it for. But more information about the lyricist Al Dubin, I will be recording it for a later commentary, so keep your eyes or ears peeled. You can't keep your ears, you know what I mean. So my idioms need a little work tonight. So these are my thoughts and Little Manny's Music Time for Why Do I Dream These Dreams? And it's very appropriate. I'm talking about dreaming dreams and also seeing Rip Van Winkle's Sleep, because it's almost 10 o'clock p.m. as I'm recording this. And I think I need to go to sleep myself. So maybe I will go fishing, even though it's very difficult to go fishing where I live. Or, I don't know, just put my head on my pillow and do it the old-fashioned way. So thanks for listening, everyone. Please follow me on my social media accounts at the Toonie Tenor, the TOONEYTENOR, for more information about my life as a musician and as a multifaceted geek. So thanks for listening. Enjoy Anthony's part of the commentary. And according to Looney Tune Wiki, which isn't always 100% accurate, but this is the first merry melody, not to say so long, folks, but it adopted the more familiar phrase from the Looney Tunes, and obviously that was made far more famous from my favorite character, Porky Pig. So, in brief, I will bid you all that's all, folks.
That's all, folks.
Thank you, Manny. This short is quite forgettable. It's more bizarre than funny. There are a few funny bits in here involving wife just throwing a chamber pot, and then you got the fishing pole sequence and all that, and then you got the beards dancing, but ultimately it's forgettable. The song's fine, but look, this one gets like a 5 out of 10. It's okay. It showcases Priz's timing well enough, but it's not a very good short. But is it the worst thing in the world? No, it's just something that's forgettable, but hey, it's another one off the list. So thank you guys for watching, and until next time, take care.